Hello, everybody. Josh Brown here, back for another great episode on Franchise Euphoria. Well, today's episode is brought to you by IndieFranchiseLaw.com, a leading resource in the franchise space to help you if you're considering buying a franchise, turning your business into a franchise, or growing your business through a licensing or franchise structure. So go on, check it out, IndieFranchiseLaw.com. I think you'll find a lot of valuable and free information as you continue to kind of weigh franchising and licensing and the growth of your business. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's episode. On today's episode of Franchise Euphoria, I'm thrilled to welcome Mark Setterington, who's the co-founder of Island Fin Poke. Mark is a restaurateur, entrepreneur, and co-founder of this growing franchise located in or started in Orlando, Florida. After working in the restaurant industry for 36 years and overseeing 10 restaurants throughout Las Vegas and Los Angeles, Mark decided to launch Island Fin Poke to bring guests high-quality poke in an immersive tropical environment. His first location opened in Orlando, and over the past 3 years, Mark has expanded the brand to new cities across the country. By the end of 2020, Island Fin Poke will have 14 restaurants open, and he has signed agreements for at least 20 more units. There are many things I took from this interview. Really enjoyed it with Mark, but very transparent, honest, straightforward guy who's just lived the life of a restaurateur. And I think that shines right through in this interview with some great lessons that he's learned along the way, some failure, and a whole lot of success as well. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Mark Setterington. Hello, Mark. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing great. Looking forward to learning all about Island Fin Poke, a restaurant franchise that you co-founded. But before we dive into that, you've got an array of experience going back 36 years in the restaurant world. Tell us about that.
Man, 36 years, you're making me sound old here.
You might be, Mark. I mean, I don't know.
Every job I've held since I was 16 years old has been restaurants. I worked my way through Michigan State University in restaurants, came out of college with zero debt. Probably could have had better grades, but coming out debt-free was important to me as well. I would not trade my life for anything. I've worked for small companies. I've worked for huge companies like Darden and Bahama Breeze and Margaritaville on the Strip in Las Vegas, where I felt like I was running a small country. So it's been a pretty good life.
What drew you to that? I mean, because, there's, and this is said with lots of respect and admiration, but it takes a certain kind of person to build a career in the restaurant business.
It really does. I'm a little ADD. So for me, having a lot of things going on at the same time works. I can handle curveballs. And that's what, I would tell young managers that were working for me. It's anybody can hit a fastball. If you can hit a curveball, you'll do a lot of good things in this business because every day is different. And I think that's what I like most about it.
Did you, before Island Fin Poke, did you own any other restaurants, or were you just involved in the management of other restaurants?
No, we owned a bar about 6 years ago in Queen Creek, Arizona, and we completely failed. But for me, I'm not afraid to fail. And I learned so much from that failure. And the fact is that I've got the right family backing me up. My wife, my kids. When the whole Island Fin Poke thing came up, there was no fear. It wasn't, oh my God, what if we fail again? It was, what did we learn from the thirsty cactus? And what are we going to do better this time? And I think we've succeeded.
What do you think? Because I think you're right. I mean, look, I always joke with people, if you haven't failed, you just haven't tried enough, right? I mean, you're playing it maybe a little too safe, because when you go into business and you're in business, there's failures all the time. What do you think you learned? A few things. I know you learned a ton, but what do you think you learned from the failure of the thirsty cactus?
A few things. I bought an existing business and I thought that I was good enough to take a business that had a bad reputation in the community and fix it. And I really grossly underestimated the amount of money and marketing that it would take to do that. It didn't matter how good our food was or how good our service was. It takes more than just that to build brand awareness and get past a bad reputation in the community.
And you go from, a bar, Thirsty Cactus, to now a farm fresh kind of concept, right? An island fin poke. How did you make that transition? What led you to this type of concept?
Part of the problem with the bar was our food was a little bit too sophisticated for the area. It was a sports bar, but the menu was chef driven. My brother's a chef, and he created the whole menu. So the menu was a little too upscale.
Yeah, people wanted chicken wings and burgers,
Yep.
and you're offering fancy stuff.
So when I was in Vegas, I had 5 restaurants in Southern California and 5 restaurants in Vegas that I was taking care of. And across the street from my restaurant in El Segundo was a poke spot, and it was a little old Hawaiian man. And, we became friends. And his advice to me was everybody can have the same fish and everyone can have the same fruits and vegetables. The place you're going to stand out is your sauces. So we still got to use our creativity in the fact that we make all of our sauces house made. But the real difference here versus the bar is I didn't want to buy a job. I wanted a lifestyle. We're open from 11 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. Every guest that comes through the front door is treated as family. And we've made a lot of, in the 4 years since we've been open, people that will be lifetime friends. So that's the real difference is it's a lifestyle. It's not a bar and open till 2 a.m. And those kind of things where it's a tough life. And
Yeah.
I haven't in 4 years felt like I'm going to work. Not one day in 4 years have I felt like I'm going to work.
And you're located in Orlando, right?
Yes, we have the 2 company stores are Winter Springs and Lake Nona. And now we have 9 franchise restaurants open.
So walk through, from the concept stage to, obviously this is an audio podcast. So walk us through, paint the picture, what does an island fin poke look like? What can people expect when they come in? What are some of the menu favorites and what distinguishes it from other, competitors in its space?
I think the big thing is we know exactly who we are. Our menu is very, very specific. It's Hawaiian style poke. We have 30 plus toppings. We have 5 house made marinating sauces, 5 house made finishing sauces, and everything in the restaurant except for 3 items is gluten free, including the Dole Whip. So when you walk into the door, the real difference is we think of ourselves as a 5-star beach shack. So you're coming in board shorts and flip flops, and the first thing you notice is the Jack Johnson on the music and the surf videos on the TV, and it's just super chill. No matter what stresses you had before you walk in that door, they're gone. The team members give you a warm, welcoming greeting. They walk you through the menu. We teach the kids that you have 15 feet to build that relationship, and that's how long our service line is. And then we say we give a full service experience in a fast food restaurant. So what we mean by that is when the team makes your bowls, they carry it out to the table. We don't have trash cans in the dining room. We pre-bus your tables. We refill your drinks. Every guest that dines in gets a Dole Whip sample. So we are all over you with the level of service. We treat people like they're guests in our home. And you wouldn't let a guest come in your home and, sit there with you at the dining room table with an empty beverage or with dirty plates in front of them. You would get up, you'd refill their beverage, you'd take their plates, and you'd make sure that the experience was one that they would remember. And that's how we treat people.
You started with one. You started with one, and then when did you decide to go to a second location?
Man, it was honestly, it was pretty quick because our plan was to have 2 or 3 restaurants of our own, and that was it. We were going to golf and we were going to go to the beach and we were going to work with our kids. It was a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But the way that Winter Springs opened up and the reaction to the food and the atmosphere and the service was such that when the franchising opportunity presented itself, we jumped on it. So it's been fast. We opened March 20th of 2017. And by the end of 2018, we were franchising. And we've sold 31 locations plus an area rep deal where he's going to develop 20 on the west coast of Florida in 2 years.
Wow.
It's been spectacular.
And is your brother the head chef?
My brother is in Michigan, and when I need something, I call him. So he is doing research and development all the time. He has a burger restaurant of his own called Bridge Street Burger Shack.
Okay.
And it's like a 50s style burger joint. And, 2020, he's had a record year in the pandemic. It's really kind of funny on $6 burgers, and he's just killing it. But
On carry out and
oh,
delivery?
yeah. But I call him and I'm like, hey, everybody asks for eel sauce. I need something sweet, a little spicy. What do you got? And this was last winter. He said, give me 5 minutes. Put some things together in his head. He's like, try this. 5 minutes, he texts me back, driving in a blizzard. We play with it. Wicked Wahini is now our second most popular marinating sauce. His palate is pretty ridiculous.
He's your ace in the hole, man.
He is my secret weapon for sure.
Well, so did you learn or did you decide to franchise through customers asking about it? Or what led you down the franchise path? Obviously, you got led down quickly because you guys had some good success right out of the gate. But what got you thinking about franchising?
We actually had a development company reach out to us. They saw our Instagram, so they started stalking us a little bit in a good way. And they reached out to us and they said, hey, have you thought about franchising? And, we discussed it and we got going with them. It was a good company to get us going. And through that company, I met Cliff and Justin, who are basically our development team. Cliff and Justin have taken the ball and completely run with it.
What's that been like? I mean, a lot of people listening, tuning in, are people obviously contemplating becoming franchisees, but also turning their own businesses into franchises. And, as somebody who's gone through it for myself on the legal side, I work with people who go through it all the time, but you don't quite know it till you go through that process. What was that like for you going through the process of turning your business into a franchise?
We were really pretty blessed because the entire career has been corporate restaurants. So even when we had one restaurant, we had line checks and we had prep lists and we had order guides and cleaning lists. So we had all of the corporate structure in place. The hardest thing for me or anybody that's going to franchise their own business is going to be really figuring out how are you going to get somebody that's 2,000 miles away to commit to following your process, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key. We have to be super selective when we are doing founders calls and the discovery day process because you want people that are entrepreneurial, but you also want people that follow direction because as a franchisee, you are buying your own business in a sense, but in large part, what you're buying is a game plan. You're going to execute the Island Fin Poke business in your community. So you don't really have a say in menu or service standards and whatnot. So you also have to be willing to be a rule follower as well, or we'll never be able to have the consistency of Chick-fil-A or Tijuana Flats, which is another one down here that we like, and Jeremiah's. What you have to ensure is that when we open up this restaurant in Salinas, California, if someone goes there that's been to my restaurant in Winter Springs, the OG sauce has to taste like the OG sauce. And the menu and the experience has to be the exact same. Otherwise, we'll never have success. And the funny thing is, the last 4 openings that Taylor and I have gone to, someone has been in that's been to one of my Florida restaurants.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
when we went to open North Las Vegas last month, somebody came in that had been to our restaurant in Lake Nona, Florida. It's mind-blowing to me that with 11 restaurants, we already have kind of a national footprint where somebody in Las Vegas, Nevada has been into one of our Florida restaurants. And it's amazing to me.
Well, it's sort of interesting too, because you want to have somebody who has entrepreneurial tendencies in terms of figuring out how to solve problems. But as you said, you need somebody who also follows direction too. And the idea is you're not looking for a robot. You're not looking for something, but you can have a great, vibrant business that involves creativity and ingenuity that still follows processes, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what people want. As much as people, want to go and experience local experiences, they want consistent experiences. They want consistently good service. They want to know that that sauce that they had the last time that they just loved and they can't remember the name of, and they walk in and you go, oh yeah, here it is. And it tastes the same 3 weeks later. You know what I mean? And so that's always the challenge in franchising. I'm curious, as a founder, when you make the switch from an operator of 1 or 2 locations to now the franchisor, your role changes. How has that changed for you, and how have you been able to adapt to it?
Well, the big thing is when I knew I needed help, I needed a layer between me and the franchises. And it's because I can't be the sheriff and the mayor at the same time, right? So I actually put an ad on LinkedIn and I hired a franchise business coach. And this guy, Chris, he's got a long history on the franchisor side with Chili's and then some experience on the franchisee side with Blaze. So I am self-aware enough to know that when I needed help, I needed to hire help. And we made sure when we took on that infrastructure that we hired a stud, right? We didn't hire some guy that worked with me 10 years ago because I really liked him, because that wasn't going to get us where we needed to go.
Who's the ideal franchisee? I mean, obviously you've been doing this now a little bit. You got some good expansion, and I want to talk about that here in a second. But who is the ideal franchisee that fits your model?
I would say, like we touched on, someone with the entrepreneurial spirit, but also understands process. What I tell everybody when they come in for a discovery day, we're not Chick-fil-A, right? You pop a Chick-fil-A up in the middle of a cornfield in the middle of Iowa, and for the first 3 weeks open, they're going to need cops directing traffic, no matter where you go, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're Island Fin Pokey. And what we have to be is, if we're going to be successful, we're a neighborhood joint, right? That means we had success through COVID, especially in like Worcester, Massachusetts and Winter Springs, because we had history. So Winter Springs has it'll be 4 years in March, a 4-year history. So the neighborhood loves us, the neighborhood supports us. So when it gets to all that buy local and support local, they're all coming in and they're doing the curbside and the Uber Eats and whatever. So you need to find people that are outgoing and that understand the fact that they need to be rooted in their community. And if they're not, that's fine. But then you're going to hire somebody to work for you that is, right? My 19-year-old daughter, Zoe, runs Winter Springs. She's a 19-year-old kid, full-time college student, and she's working 40 hours a week for me running one of my restaurants.
Wow.
Right? That's how easy this is. So what you need to do as a franchisor, you hire a kid, you pay him decently, and you spend your time out in the community driving people through the front door for that kid to take care of, right? If you're in the restaurant all day long making bowls, you're not going to be successful. It's just not going to happen. You can make a living, but you don't buy a franchise to make a living, right? You want to buy that franchise so you can live the life that you want to live.
Yeah, for sure.
And in order to do that, you need to be the person driving sales through the front door.
How have you guys dealt with, as we sort of finish up here, I'm curious, how have you guys dealt with COVID? How has that impacted your business? What are maybe some things that you've tweaked, or maybe you haven't? I don't know, but how has COVID impacted Island Fin Pokey?
Honestly, the greatest thing for us is that we were built for this. We've always been about 65% takeout. So Toast is our POS company. And when this started, my local Toast guy, Justin, as soon as this all started happening, Justin sent me a text message. He said, "What restaurant are you at today?" I said, "Lake Nona." He's like, "All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Justin came to my restaurant, walked in with his tablet, said, "Hey, do you want curbside pickup?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." 10 minutes, he asked me a couple of questions on how we wanted it done. 10 minutes later, curbside pickup was turned on for the entire company.
Wow.
And it's been ridiculous. Throughout the pandemic, we've negotiated our rates down with both Grubhub and Uber Eats so that the restaurants aren't paying 30%. And our online ordering is super simple, and we're made for it. We're not a big restaurant. So we've only ever had 2 or 3 people working at a time. So you're not getting eaten up with labor. Our food cost is really pretty solid. So it's been a blessing that I feel bad for my friends that own there's a sports bar that's near me in Winter Springs. It's a big place and a big kitchen, and they had to cut their menu in half in order to even be remotely successful and keep the doors open through this. And it sucks, and I feel bad for them.
Yeah, for sure. How are you having such success with your growth? I mean, you said, 30 some locations in the works at this point. Is that organic, or are you working with a company to do that, or a combination of both?
Cliff and Justin work with franchise brokers.
Got it.
And every time we open a restaurant in a new town, we get prospects reaching out, because you walk in and you can just tell the simplicity of the model, right? You spend 5 minutes talking to somebody. We don't have anybody. We have one person as a franchisee that's had restaurant experience. Everyone else has come from outside the industry.
Oh, wow.
So it's that kind of easy. Everybody that's signed on, 90% has said, "I don't want a restaurant." And when Cliff and Justin talk to them about Island Fin, they're like, "Oh, because we're basically a retail shop, And our goods and services are poke bowls.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you coming on and sharing here for a few minutes with us. Really good information. If anybody wants to learn more about the opportunity, you can go to islandfinpokey.com. You can also check them out on Instagram and LinkedIn and all over social media. Any place else people should go to learn about what you guys are doing?
Our Facebook pages are really active, but really the LinkedIn, the website, there's a franchise tab on the website that'll get you in direct contact with our development guys, and they'll answer any questions. And my phone number's on there as well. And I've always got my phone on me. If anybody wants to reach out and just, pick my brain about doing their own thing and franchise and whatnot, I'm an open book.
Well, I appreciate it. You've certainly been super candid and transparent. I really appreciate that. And I know the people listening do as well. So thank you, Mark. And I wish you nothing but continued success as you continue to move forward with this franchise adventure that you're on. So good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Franchise Euphoria. If you enjoyed this episode or have enjoyed the podcast in general, I would really appreciate it if you could go to iTunes and leave me a rating and review. It really helps to get this podcast out to more and more people. So the easy way to do it is go to iTunes and in the search box, put in Franchise Euphoria. You will then see my cover art and you click on my smiling face that says Franchise Euphoria and then click on the link that says ratings and reviews. It's that simple, but boy, oh boy, does it mean the world to me when people leave ratings and reviews. And like I said, it really helps get the show out there. Once again, would love it if you would go to iTunes and leave a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode or other episodes of the show. And until the next time, happy franchising.